Welcome back to the M2 Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Anthony. My co-host right here is KyleHeath. This is the show where we cover this week's gaming industry-related news. We got 4 articles, only 4, coming to you. We're going to be talking a little bit about, honestly, just like opinions coming from CEOs and development leads and studio heads. Todd Howard, we got comments from him about Pac-Man, Tetris being like the 2 most important games of all time. He mentions a little bit of Doom and Super Mario Bros. I'm excited to talk about that because we can have some opinions and discussions about, I don't know, what you might think, Kyle, would be your 2 most important games of all time. Then we're going to talk a little bit about SplitFiction, a game I played most recently. Josef Fares is basically talking about what it went into making the game and what is for the future for Hazelight. Is it Hazelight or is it Hazelight? I always mess it up. I think it's
Hazelight.
Hazelight Studio.
Hazelight.
Hazelight. Yeah. Haz. Silly me.
Mm.
And then we're going to talk a little bit about like Baldur's Gate 3 CEO is weighing in on single player games, and how there's this argument that single player games are dead when that's not really the case. And of course, there's a director from Treyarch, the guys who worked on Black Ops 3, and what they're going to be doing for PlayStation Studio. But before we get into it, Kyle, how you been doing? You were about to tell me right before we started, like this game that you recently started playing.
Yeah,
So what's going on?
it wasn't anything special. I was just going to tell you that I was playing more Repo this past week. So
Nice.
That's really
You're
all I
back.
played. But yeah, dude, no, I was playing. I even played little. I got to the point where I was playing little solos at one point, which is like not a
Oh.
game. It's like very solo friendly. I feel like, but I was
Yeah.
just like trying it out, have fun. Ended up getting.
Okay.
I got to like round 3 at one point and round 4, but I just kept dying to stuff that I don't like. Half the stuff wasn't my fault. Like half the stuff I did mess up, but like there was like one time I lost on round 3, and I was like, it was like the dumbest way to die, and I felt like I shouldn't have died. But yeah, I played for a couple hours and got to the point there where I was just like, well, I'm probably just gonna log off and maybe get ahead on work or something, because I was just like getting annihilated. But yeah, no, I mean, other than that, I still played some like group sessions and stuff. It was always fun. Yeah, dude, I honestly haven't touched anything else. Like, and what I feel like is coming up on a month now. Like, I just haven't really touched much else.
That's crazy.
Because
Yeah.
I feel like it's like the 3rd week I've been like, yeah, Repo's all I played. But like, it's just the reality. I just haven't really played much else.
No, that's
So
fine. I mean, you're hooked on a new game. The thing that's like interesting too is the repo hype is only going up right now. I've seen people in like multiple different discords
yeah,
actually mentioning repo and what everybody else is like playing and trying to get people in on a new game like repo.
yeah,
So you're not alone, I don't
yeah.
think.
I feel like I will say. I mean, with that said, I think it's one of those games that definitely has a shelf life. So I think unless they pump out like
Yeah,
quick
sure.
updates, I think it's at least for me. Unless there's like a bunch of updates coming up, it's probably one of those things that like I'll probably set down for a while soon and just kind of come back when there's updates, sort of thing. But I mean, dude, I love the concept. I think it's ingenious. It's like just an easy, simple party game. Um, there was a term used for that kind of game. I can't remember it now, but I saw it on Twitter. It was like a term for that style of game, and I was like, and it was right on the money, but I can't remember what it was. It was like there's a funny like new term people were coming up with for those kind of games, where it was like that and Lethal Company and those kind of like goofy sort of multiplayer games. But yeah,
I wonder what
that's
the term is. Yeah, I mean that
yeah,
is kind of a category
I
now.
forgot it now, but yeah, someone had a really clever term for it. Just forgot. But yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. I don't know how much more I'll be playing it, but I've been enjoying it nonetheless. So I don't know. Maybe I
That's good.
like I want to try. I've been inspired to by TikToks. I've seen a lot of TikToks too of people playing the game solo and getting the high rounds. And like the higher the
Yeah.
rounds you get, the more upgrades you can get for your character. So eventually it's to the
Oh, that's
point where
good.
like you can upgrade the strength of your character so much where your guy pretty much becomes like unkillable and you could just like run around killing every monster with ease. It's like you pretty much become a giant tank. And so I want to get to that point. I'd love to like have a round or like have a session where I like become like pretty much invincible. I feel like that'd be a lot of fun. But it takes a
Yeah, you
lot
can
of
do whatever you wanted.
yeah, it takes a lot of work to get there though, so I need to work on my strats if I want to get to that point. But I don't know. It's been something fun to play and just kind of like not, turn my brain off kind of thing. So been enjoying it.
That's cool.
That's all I played, man. That's all I got. I don't know. I was trying to think if I don't know if I really did like too much else. Not really a lot going on sports wise, so at least sports that I like. So I haven't really been watching too much
Yeah.
else. Like hockey
Yeah.
every now and again. I'll try and tune in, but That's about it, really. I've
Yeah,
not really been into basketball much.
that's true. It's been kind of difficult to like get into sports most recently, like newer sports, because the seasons are changing. You got um, March Madness, right? Is just now starting up,
Pretty sure, yeah,
or am I
like just
missing that?
started.
Yeah, NCAA tournament. I know people are starting up their brackets. It's going to be crazy with how many games are going to be going on. That could be fun, but professional sports for us, man, it's like the Canes are on a 7 games winning streak, which is crazy.
Love that.
Yeah, I'm really surprised with how well they've been playing just this season alone with all the players that they've just dropped and let go. Um, Pretty impressive just to show that there's a good culture there. My team Everton's unbeaten in 7. No,
That's
is it unbeaten in
that's
9? Not they haven't lost a game since January.
that's that is insane. That's
Yeah,
like
it's
it's
pretty crazy.
extremely
Whole lot of
impressive.
draws,
But
but
I mean, hey
yeah.
man, that's one of those things that I mean, y'all ended up switching coaches. Got an old recognizable face in there now apparently, and it's going
Yeah.
well. It's
I'll
going well.
be I'll be going there in like a month, 4 weeks. So,
I was gonna
get
say
to
we'll
go
have
to
to
the stadium.
yeah, we'll have to I was just thinking about that too when you're on your trip. How long are you gonna be gone again?
It'll be an extended weekend, so I think I'll probably leave like I think I might be leaving on Thursday because it's a 5-hour trip. 5-hour, not trip, 5-hour time difference.
Hmm. Yeah.
Probably leave on Thursday, get back Monday. So I don't
Really?
think it should impact us really.
That's a quick trip.
No.
I feel like if I was
Yeah.
going to EU or Europe or something, I'm like, give me at least a week. Like, you know?
Well, I gotta say my week time. I got other stuff I gotta go to this year.
That's fair. That's fair.
So,
Hey man.
I'll probably snag some time off to like in terms of work, it's fairly flexible, but I try to be respectful
Yeah.
of like the agreement we've signed. So we'll see. Kind of up in the air for that about exactly how long. All I know is I got to buy the tickets, and I think the tickets should be going on sale relatively soon, maybe next week. And once they go on sale, I got to make sure I get some. Um,
Oh yeah.
they're not easy to find.
I can
Yeah,
imagine. Probably gets difficult. So got to get on that.
yeah,
But definitely
yeah.
waiting for those stories for this time. Like, it has some good stories after that
Facts, dude.
weekend.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good. It's gonna be a good time. I'm very excited. Yeah, but in terms of games, dude, I I got to high level Diamond 2, almost Diamond 1 for Marvel Rivals. I was grinding that for a while. Having a couple of brewskis, playing pretty late, and I was just destroying people. Like I got in the
Love that.
flow state and was just
Oh, dude.
locked in. And I'm starting to figure out characters a certain way and like what really works at a higher level of gaming. And it's gotten easier. It's weird. It's like I plateaued for a little bit. It was kind of like Rocket League. I plateaued when I got to Diamond initially, and then once I like figured out what needed to be done and then started becoming more consistent about it, I was just locked in and I started like high level getting there into like the champ like tier. Once you get there, it's like okay, now everybody around you can kind of predict what they're going to play and how they're going to play, and then you can better counter it instead of getting just like wild cards at lower levels. It's very interesting. But in terms of new games, I played SplitFiction. I got pretty far in, man. It was really cool.
Yeah.
Do you remember? I was debating whether or not I should probably tell like everybody kind of the premise of what's going on. Um, it was really cool. Essentially, you get the choice between two writers that are trying to become published. They are in a futuristic world, kind of like around modern day era almost, but it's clearly in the future. And they're at this studio or this publisher trying to get the a specific book that they've written published. And there's like a whole bunch of people with them, and it's made out to be a competition. And they stand in these like different areas in front of this machine, and the machine basically puts them in a giant like energy bubble, and the energy bubble puts them into their story. And basically you have to act out your story so that the publisher can decide whether or not it's worth like publishing,
Yeah.
essentially. Now it's an interesting concept, and then you find out the machine is actually set up so that when you're in the orb, it doesn't just steal or doesn't just go through your book, it goes through all of your ideas. And you find out that like the machine and the publisher are kind of morally bankrupt, and they're trying to steal all of your ideas
Oh,
and
that's
take them
crazy.
as their own
Yeah.
and publish it under their own umbrella. And I think it's made out to believe like not only do all your ideas get stolen, but you forget they're your ideas.
Whoa,
I
that's
think that's what's
crazy.
going on.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Dude. They
So it's like,
steal it and then make you forget, dude. Men in Black style.
yeah, it's kind of super malicious. So, we got, I think it was 2 hours worth of gameplay in, enough to get a feel for the characters, because that's kind of how Hazelight does their stuff, where they're
Yeah,
like, here's a good handful of hours, like 2 to 4 or 5, depending on like side quests and stuff that you do, to really understand the characters, and then it goes into a whole other storyline. It's like you have the storyline of like these two people that are completely conflicting, um, and how their relationship develops from being like kind of enemies to friends to like true companions and stuff. Um, but you also have the overarching like issue with whatever this overall supervillain is. It's like the greater evil kind
yeah,
of thing. It's very, very, very cool concept so far, and I really like their games because they always have that kind of concept. All
yeah.
at the same time, you're playing different versions of a game and different stories. It's very, very cool.
Different
It gives
genres.
them
Yeah,
the free, yeah, because it's like one person's doing science fiction, the other person's doing fantasy, and Hazelight is basically like, we make all the games possible and playable, all the different
yeah.
genres. It gives them almost unlimited amounts of places to go, and the story can stay like, was it congruent?
Yeah.
Which is
Uh,
really cool. Yeah,
I
I'm
like
into it
that.
right now.
I like that. Yeah, yeah. I'm excited. It's definitely on my list. I'm not sure when I'm gonna be able to get to it, but I should probably. I do want to bump it up on the priority list a little bit because it's like just so good. I imagine it's
Oh,
amazing, and Metacritic scores don't lie. We talking a
yeah,
must play
they
90 plus. Like,
it is definitely a must play. Yeah, you gotta check it out. You really gotta check it out. I'm hoping I can like play before I go out of town this weekend.
yeah, be
Gonna
nice.
go out of town to go see like my cousin's wedding. I really do, because I'm kind of addicted and I really want to play it. But when I don't have my duo on, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna play Marvel Rivals,
Yeah,
and that
yeah.
man's been so busy. It's like, damn, I don't want to play without him. you
Right.
know?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing that sucks. It's like you have to have someone committed. You have to have a player or two that's committed. If you want to
Oh
like
yeah,
beat it
dude.
in a reasonable time, you can't really do it at your own pace. So
Exactly. And
it's
well, we
only
did It Takes Two. I think we beat it in like a week and a half or so, but we both had like crazy amounts of free time, and we're just like, oh, let's just bang it out. Like, let's
yeah,
just go.
yeah,
Let's get it done.
yeah. I think I imagine whatever it takes two is out. I mean, the person I was playing with, I think we were kind of in a similar thing. I think it took us a couple weeks, but or maybe yeah. I
Right.
think I'm trying to remember exactly. I want to say it actually took us a couple weeks. We beat like 70 to 80% of the game, but then we had to come back like a month later to finish it or something like that because we were both got really busy. So it just sucks, but
Still pretty
yeah,
good though.
that's what it is. Yeah, yeah. I'm looking forward to playing it, and I know we have an article later on talking about it, and there was actually an interview that's which I think is part of that the GameSpot article we'll talk about later. Interview with who I now found out his name is Josef Fares, which makes sense because it's like Fares, so it's like Fares, so it's pronounced
Oh, I said
Fares.
Ferris, didn't I?
I
Yeah.
was the same way. I kept saying Fares, and I actually found out it's Fares. Um, but I saw an interview with him that he did where he was talking about a bit of the process and kind of the relationship with EA and whatnot. So it'll be interesting when we get to that article, but it's good.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I think we should just go ahead and start jumping into the articles for this week. What do you got for us to start off number one?
I would agree. We're gonna start off full games radar. Anna Koselki. Koselki? I don't. Sorry, Anna.
Yeah, I think you're right, Koselki.
Selki.
Because
Koselki.
sounds right.
Anna Koselki over at Games Radar says Pac-Man and Tetris are quote the two most important games of all time. Says Bethesda lead Todd Howard, with Doom and Super Mario Bros. Standing as the most quote influential for what they do for gaming. So we got a little Todd Howard interview. Let's get into this, dude. Bethesda Game Studios lead Todd Howard has named what he sees as the most important and influential games of all time, and his picks range from Tetris to Doom. Speaking to the BAFTA Game Awards in the recent Q&A, Howard answered first with what he thinks are the two most important games to ever exist: Tetris and Pac-Man. According to the Bethesda head, first, I think, begins Howard. The two most important games of all time are Tetris and Pac-Man for what they do for gaming overall and for bringing so many people to it. As for the most influential games, his choices are a bit different. For influential, I'm going to go with Super Mario Bros. And Doom. Admits the lead, going on to explain why. Two games where if you trace things games are doing today, you can trace so much to that back to those games, both Super Mario Bros. And Doom. He makes a solid point with all four of these picks. After all, Tetris alone has sold over 520 million games total worldwide, on over 50 platforms and in more than 200 countries. As for gems like Super Mario Bros. And Doom, it goes without saying that their legacy lives on over 3 decades later. Doom the Dark Ages is currently in the works, and the Super Mario Bros. Series has seen no shortage of spin-offs or recent releases. Super Mario Bros. Ultimate still receiving new content regularly, and standalone games like Mario and Luigi Brothership launching just at the tail end of last year. I think these are pretty solid picks. I could see Todd's explanations why he would select these. I think it makes sense. I mean, the dude knows games. That goes without saying. Even with the state that Bethesda's in for a lot of fans, it's not ideal. But I think it's clear that it doesn't surprise me that these are kind of his selections, in my opinion. I would certainly agree. And I think like Tetris is one that I've obviously played. I mean, like, I'm sure everyone who's played games at some point has played some form of Tetris. It's a solid game. It's definitely not one I go back to often. I'll be honest. Like, I'm not like actively thinking like, oh, I'm gonna go play Tetris. Like, there was a Tetris Battle Royale, Tetris 99, a little bit different, add a little flavor to Tetris. I know we had a lot of people I knew were into that. But yeah, man, I think Super Mario Bros. We talked about it on the pod. We released a tier list. You remember this, Mike? We had a little tier list.
Yes,
segment.
I do.
Or at the top of that list, Super Mario Bros. Man, goes without saying. I mean, it's very influential. Yeah. A lot of, like you said, there's a lot of games you could trace it back for sure. So,
Super Mario Bros. Has so many different varieties too, and all the spin-off titles. I mean, without a shadow of a doubt, for me, the most influential character in all of video gaming has to be Mario, like by far. But yeah, what were you about to say?
No, I mean, I think, like I said, Tetris is good, Super Mario Bros. Is good. Doom is certainly influential. It's not one I personally thought about, but like, I totally agree with the fact that from an FPS standpoint, I mean, it's Doom. It's one of the first ever, right? That and Wolfenstein, probably some of the first ever FPS, like true FPS games. So yeah, I mean, now that he mentions that, totally agree. And it's crazy that franchise has been rebooted and it still like holds up well. There's still so many people excited for Doom the Dark Ages. I mean, it comes out literally at the time of recording this in 2 months. So it's right around the corner
for that.
Yeah, it's right around the corner. And it's a game that I definitely plan on checking out because it looks just like insane. Like just watching that and seeing like giant mech suits and kind of just and
just kind of going back to like what it used to be like as well, which is really cool. It's like a throwback in a way. Yeah. I don't know. I think he's kind of spot on. For me, it's not really Pac-Man, but I can definitely understand it or understand the appeal because Pac-Man captivated everybody back then. When it first came out, shoot, you can still play Pac-Man and have a great time.
Yeah,
and that's kind of a testament to just the basics of games. Like, just be good in terms of functionality. That's all you need to do.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I mean, you could really break this down to like any genre too. I mean, I think all time, yeah, sure, Mario's definitely up there. Doom's definitely up there. Tetris, Pac-Man, I mean, all that. And you can go genres. You could do like RPG or like shooters. Or for shooters, definitely Doom, definitely Wolfenstein.
You could do racers too.
Yeah, racers. Yeah,
doing racing and
fighting games.
It's interesting how far everything has come and how far it's going to continue to go with all the different trailers that we keep seeing. And just, I don't know. VR is probably the most obvious thing, like Ready Player One level.
Yeah.
Not the stuff that we're at right now, but like, give me a full exosuit, make it like affordable. I mean, like, I can't discern from reality.
Like, get hit with gunshots, I just feel little thumps
where
the bullets are and stuff.
That'd be cool. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, that would actually
as hell, though.
Dude, yeah, just think about that. Be kind of crazy. It's like you get this suit on, And like when you actually get shot in the game, like you feel where it hits on your body, like the little bumps and stuff. That'd be
Oh, it'd be so
wild.
impressive.
That'd be so wild. Oh man.
Unreal Engine like 5. Well, by the time that happens, it's like Unreal Engine 10.
Yeah, it's a body cam games. I'm telling you, bro.
Oh my gosh,
Crazy.
yeah.
Um,
That'd be so cool.
yeah. I don't know. Yeah, influential games. I mean, one that comes to mind for me, obviously, it's a later release, but like Minecraft is one that comes to mind for like open world and just pure creativity. I think that one's up there for me. I don't know. From a live service
standpoint,
standpoint,
first open world game, probably Super Mario 64, right?
yeah. If you want to go back that far, yeah, for sure.
I guess Link, Ocarina of Time's up there too.
Yeah, like the original
But I
Zelda
think
games.
Super Mario 64 was
technically.
first, yeah.
I mean, the original Zelda games on like NES stuff, was that technically open world? I mean, it was kind of like
Actually,
figure it out. I mean,
it's kind of hard to say because it's like there was sort of a linear path with those games
yeah,
in a lot of
there's
ways.
still a
Like you
story,
could only
yeah.
go so far until you went back and actually did something else. Yeah, it's weird. It's hard to tell.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, a lot of those early games, dude. Talk about open world, yeah. I didn't think about Super Mario 64, but yeah, it's definitely up there. It's definitely one of the OG kind of open worlds. So yeah, I mean that's definitely there. I mean, but yeah, you can really go down the line. I mean, I think like I said, Minecraft comes to mind. It's a big one. I don't know. Yeah, there's tons. Sure. I mean, you think of like just like something simple, like we would like in Pac-Man and stuff like that, simple like Minesweeper stuff like that. It's like simple little like PC game.
Honest,
Like,
dude, Solitaire.
yeah, Solitaire. It's a good one.
Yeah,
Think about like
let's see.
strategy and stuff.
Most
The most OG,
I'm gonna look this up.
most OG game of all time, like it's gotta be chess. I mean, come on, pure strategy.
Dude, yeah.
Still to this day,
Well, that's where we get into a level of like,
that's like a board game
is
type
it a video?
of game. Yeah.
Yeah, is it a video game?
Now I'm just getting
'Cause
into
those are
like
definitely
yeah. Now I'm just getting into like games, but like just thinking from like a standpoint of strategy and stuff. It's one of the OG just pure games.
Ooh, you know what's on this list that nobody really mentioned?
What is
It's
it?
actually kind of crazy. Pong,
I mean, the OG game, the OG
the
video game,
OG
dude.
game.
The OG. Let's start
There's
it
a
all.
lot here that I'm actually like. So I went to Reddit and I just typed in like most what it's called patient gamers subreddit, and it's talking about the most influential games of all time: Doom, Super Nintendo, or Super Mario 64, Ocarina of Time, GTA 3, Street Fighter 2. It's like, yeah, I kind of forgot about fighter games. There's other people saying Warcraft, like World of Warcraft and stuff.
Oh, yeah, strategy games.
Yeah, you got Pac-Man, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Flight Sim. I forgot about Flight Sim, dude. Flight Sim is like a lot of people became pilots because they played Flight Sim.
Yeah, I
like
believe
back
that.
in the freaking 90s, 80s and stuff. Yeah,
I believe it.
that's actually a good point. Like R&D programs that turn into video games, probably. I think iRacing might have been one of those too.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
So super realistic. But yeah, dude,
cool.
there's a lot to choose from. I think Todd's list is pretty good, or Todd's like 4 that he picked. It's definitely up there.
I mean, he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, in those games.
Yeah, it's really cool.
That out. So I don't know, dude. This was a positive Todd article. That's why it's part of the reason why I wanted to add it, dude.
Yeah,
a positive Todd article, dude.
I saw it too, and I was like, he's making good points, and I was like, let's throw it in there because the past few times we talked about Todd Howard, it's gotten not so great to say the least. Because it's been. I don't think he's a controversial figure. I think he's just a marketing genius that might not talk to the engineering squad sometimes.
Yeah, and just made a company that's getting too big for its own pants, probably at this point.
Yeah.
So this is what it is, dude.
There's always problems with that.
I don't think it's necessarily his fault. I think it's just they screwed the company too fast. But
No, I don't think so. All right, shall we continue?
We talk about a great studio, dude. Great devs.
Yes. All right, Hazelight.
Hazelight.
Herzl. Okay, so this one's coming from GameSpot. We've actually have another article after this is GameSpot as well. But the title of this article is SplitFiction's Josef Fares. Fares is what you said. Fares.
Josef Fares.
Got to remember that because SES is like a skate company or skate shoe company, clothing brand. SplitFiction, Josef Fares, has already started next game, and he clarifies the relationship with EA. EA might be effing up other studios, but Hazelight, but not Hazelight, Fares says. So Fares says. Eddie McCutch, yeah, my man Eddie over at GameSpot wrote this article. Let's get into it. So Hazelight just released SplitFiction, and the game is getting rave reviews and has sold more than 2 million copies so far. Everyone already wants to know what's next, and now director Josef Fares has confirmed Hazelight is already at work on his new project. Fares has discussed Hazelight's partnership with EA, saying the company is a good, respectful partner. So in a interview and podcast, he said, SplitFiction is the best received game we have done. Everybody is super happy, but I'm so fully focused and excited on the next thing. We've already started. When he was asked about whether or not the next project had begun. So Fares didn't share any concrete information on Hazelight's next project, which is quite early in development, but he said the mood at the studio right now is very positive and staffers are amped for what's coming next. He said the team is feeling like they can do way better with the next game, whatever it turns out to be. And he goes, it's not like we're feeling now, ish. How will we top SplitFiction or do better than this? We just feel like just wait until you see what we do next. I know it's cocky, but that's how confident we feel in what we're doing. That's pretty cool. Fares has directed 4 games so far, including Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, For Starbreeze, A Way Out, It Takes Two, and SplitFiction. It Takes Two has been the biggest success of the bunch, selling 23 million copies. SplitFiction has almost doubled the budget and has sold 2 million copies in the first week. GameSpot SplitFiction review has scored the game a 10 out of 10. The game is published by EA, though it's EA Originals program. Through its EA Original program, it's the first EA published game to reach 90 or above on Metacritic since 2012's Mass Effect 2. I didn't even know that. Honestly, I found this out somewhat recently when I went to go get SplitFiction because I wanted it to be on my Xbox account so I could then play on my PC where I have it set up and the Xbox. I thought that's how it worked. Can't figure that out. I don't know how it works. Like I have the EA app. I pay for Ultimate Game Pass, which gives me the EA Pass. And when my EA Pass is linked to my Xbox account, I log in to both on my console and I can't find the game. It says I didn't purchase it. I don't play it. And I'm like, whatever. And then I found a plug-in to where I can remote desktop play on my Xbox through my computer. And I'm like, all right, well, this is good enough because I want to play in the living room. It's a console kind of story-driven game for me. And I just want to chill on the couch and not be on the in front of the screens or the lights and stuff and just chill. But yeah, something I noticed. I think the EA Originals program might be preventing me from playing on Xbox. We'll see.
Dude, no.
I gotta do some research. All of Hazelight's games so far have been co-op titles. Brothers was a single-player game with a unique co-op element. Fares said co-op will always be part of Hazelight's DNA, but he didn't rule out the possibility of the studios changing things up. You never know what the future, what happens in the future. It's not impossible. We look into single player as well, but it would be done in a Hazelight way with a Hazelight twist. It's not going to be your typical single player game. Also in the interview, Fares shed some light on Hazelight's relationship with EA. He confirmed that Hazelight does not pitch to EA. Instead, Hazelight says to EA, we're going to do this. Fares said, that's it. They have zero to say about what we're going to do next. Fares said it might be true that EA is effing up its partnerships with other companies, but not Hazelight. They respected us. They respected what we do. And I'm very clear with them that they cannot interfere with what we do. I mean, so long as they're making Game of the Year products, step off.
Get you a Josef Fares at your gaming company. That's what we're saying.
Oh yeah, dude.
Get you the guy. But yeah, no. That when I saw the interview, like he got to that point, they had asked him kind of like how do you guys like start new games? Do you have to pitch to EA kind of thing? And he was immediately like,
nah.
no, listen, like there ain't none of that with us. Like EA's a great publisher. They help us out without a doubt. But he's like, we go to them and tell them this is what we're making. take it or leave it kind of thing, and they were very accepting of that. So I thought that was hilarious. It's just like they just walk in and say like, "Hey, bro, we make successful games. Like, just let us do our thing." EA's like,
That's
23 million copies in the last game, sure. So they're just letting them do their thing. I thought it was awesome. But yeah, man, it's so funny. He also mentioned briefly in that interview, I know the article doesn't mention it, but like he had mentioned technically like Hazelight, he believes Hazelight is still technically like a double A studio. He doesn't really think of it as like a triple A studio, even though they've outsold a lot of like triple A studios, especially with It Takes Two, which I thought was a unique perspective. It's like, I feel like Josef, he still thinks like him and the team, they're like pretty tight knit, and it's not an operation that he feels is like a true triple A, like probably way too big kind of thing. So I thought that was funny, but yeah, I mean, it's wild. I mean, they make really good games, but yeah, it's one of those things like I've always thought of them as triple A. So I guess it's just perspective thing and kind of where they think they're at. And maybe in some metrics they aren't technically triple A, however that's like kind of gauged, but I don't know, man. They make good games, so they could be double A all day. I don't really care.
I kind of get it because don't they have a team of like maybe 50, 60 people or something? There's really not that many employees.
Yeah, I feel like
as of 2021, 81.
Yeah,
So
81, yeah.
I could kind of see it's just like we're double A.
Yeah. It's wild. I mean, he mentioned there too, like I mentioned, like I don't know if it's mentioned, but like he talked about how like typically they're gauged for games. It's like when they pitch something, when they start working on something, like generally they want to take at least like 3 years, but not really go past like 3 or 4. It's like that's kind of their goal is they want to do it within 3 years. And that's kind of been the structure of what they've bin doing. I mean, you talk about It Takes Two. I mean, that was 21. Now this is 25, so it's about 4 years. So he said, like he said in the interview, like generally we want to keep it within 3 to 4 years for a development cycle. We don't really want to go past that. Which I think nowadays, totally. Especially with that team size, it's reasonable. So, but yeah, I don't know, I've heard good things about the story. They mentioned in the interview as well, at least portions I saw, that like when they were talking about the ending, like they didn't talk about the ending in detail, but they just like kind of mentioned everyone that had played it on the show. When they were talking about they had mentioned to him like it's a really good ending, so it's got me excited to kind of dive in and see what that's about. So I'm looking forward to it, man. But yeah, it was an interesting interview on the Fred's Per Second podcast. A lot of game reviewers that I watch frequently, so I'll tune in every now and again, especially if they have guests. And I don't know, it was interesting to see that and kind of hear his perspective, and kind of what's going on in Hazelight, dude. He's such a cool guy, and like it's just like it's one of those things. Like one of the people in the interview at one point, they said like, I think his question was like, how do you wrangle up all your ideas and kind of like come up with, or like wrangle up everything and like weed out the ideas you don't like, stuff like that when you're making these games. And it was so funny because like you could tell like English is his first language. He's like, what do you mean by like wrangle? What does that mean? He's like, how do you bring them together? And he's like, oh, and it was just a funny moment, just reminding you, it's like the studio is like some European studio, and it's like yet they make these masterpiece games. It's really funny.
Yeah, they're locked in. Where exactly are they? Stockholm, Sweden. That's right.
Yeah. Just funny, man. Yeah. It's funny. It was a great interview though, so I recommend everyone go and watch it. If you have the time. It's good.
Yeah, my man's becoming a superstar now, especially since like the premiere of SplitFiction when it was at Summer Games Fest, and he just came out so amped and pumped, and then they showed it off even more at the Game Awards. About like, okay, here we go. I mean, dude, like here's gameplay. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean his reactions. Cool. Yeah, like way back then too, like in the earlier days. I say earlier days was like 5-6 years ago. Whenever they talked about like A Way Out and like It Takes Two and wherever he was at those events, and he always brought the personality and the juice, and that's how I feel like for like the Game Awards and stuff, like that's how I remember like these community managers and like studio heads, is if they come out with like great energy and they're really excited about what they're making. It gets me intrigued to be like, okay, I'm gonna follow that person and see what they're gonna come out with, kind of thing. So he's been always someone that I've loved his energy, like when he goes to these events, and so and the games have been backing it up. So it's just awesome to see.
Oh yeah, very true. Well, it's always good to just check in on these guys and see how they're doing. Really,
always, dude. EA's not messing everything up, but they really can't mess up what they can't control. So
that's a fact, dude. How about you tell us what's going on at another studio CEO and
Good
what they got
old
going on?
Larian. Larian.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out Baldur's Gate 3 fans out there. Anyways, dude,
Larian Studios.
this is a nice little GameSpot article coming from Darren Bointhius. It's a crazy last name. Bonthius.
Yeah, that is a wild
Bonthius.
point to you.
Bondius.
Bont, Us, Us, Bontius?
Yeah, listen, Darren.
I don't know. You got me, dude.
Let's read this. So, Baldur's Gate 3 CEO weighs in on the single player games are dead argument. Have you been hearing that argument, Mike? Single player games dead?
Yeah, I mean, we've been kind of hearing
Little
that for a freaking while, dude.
Yeah.
We really have.
Kind of dead. I don't know.
Whether or not it's true, I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like it can't be. Like ever since Elden Ring came out, and they won Game of the Year, and then Baldur's Gate 3 came out, won Game of the Year. Like, come on.
So, the death of single player video games has been a hot topic for several years now. One that Larian Studios founder and Baldur's Gate 3 director Sven Vincke, that was what they told me. That was what Google told me when I translated earlier. Sven
Okay.
Vincke is how he said it. Vincke. It said it in a weird accent, but it's just like the gist. Director Swen Vincke weighed in on recently. Posting on his X account, Vincke explained how he doesn't believe that traditional single player experiences aren't dead yet. That time of the year again, when big single player games are declared dead, Vincke posted. Use your imagination. They're not. They just have to be good. This quote. Bars. Just make good games, bro. This lines up with...
That's literally all you had to do. Just be good.
Just get good, dude.
Facts. It's not that complicated, guys. Make good games.
It's not that serious. Just make good games. This lines up with previous comments made by Vincke, as in an interview with GameSpot, he revealed his thoughts on how other studios could replicate the success of Baldur's Gate 3. At the Game Awards last year, Vincke also gave a speech on how the winning formula for a game was stupidly simple, but somehow kept getting lost. A studio made their game because they wanted to make a game they wanted to play themselves, Vincke said. They created it because because it hadn't been created before. They didn't make it to increase market share. They didn't make it to serve as a brand. They didn't make it to meet arbitrary sales targets or fear being laid off if they didn't meet those targets. Bars. Drop the mic.
Oh God.
While multiplayer live service games are undeniably popular, they can be heavily risky for studios due in part to established titles that have cornered large chunks of the market, which is very facts. You know what I'm saying? Like, if everyone makes a live service game, what are if people already on one established game, you got to make something that's good enough to get them off that game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because you're trying to. Not only are you trying to make a game that's good, you have to be good enough that people will stop playing on the existing live service game.
True.
Like, think about how long Fortnite has been successful. That's crazy. 10 plus years and nobody else is playing anything else.
7 years at this point. Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, literally people will get on Fortnite as their first ever game and they're still playing it.
It's wild.
Never getting off.
Crazy. For every Fortnite, there are multiple live service games that have quickly lost momentum after launch, with titles like Conquered and Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League being notable examples. Even smaller games aren't immune, as last week, Spectre Divide developer Mountaintop Studios announced that it had its game were shutting it down.
Yep.
Not every single player game is a guaranteed success either. Last year did see numerous titles do well both critically and commercially. Metaphor ReFantazio was one of 2024's best games, and Sega said it had exceeded its initial sales forecast. In the US alone, the best-selling games of the year included Elden Ring, Hogwarts Legacy, Dragon's Dogma 2, and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Yep.
What is the running theme? All single player.
Single player games.
It is worth noting that games with a heavy multiplayer appeal, like Call of Duty Black Ops 6, multiple sports games from EA and 2K, did feature prominently in the top 20 list, but they didn't dominate it entirely. But they're always going to be in there, you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
This
yeah.
kind of title's always going to be in there. Got people buying packs, gun skins. It's crazy.
This is really funny. I went to the comment section. I'll let you read the last paragraph, of course, after this. But this person makes a great point, just being a little bit sarcastic. One of the most recent comments they made was LOL, because single player games like Red Dead 2, Silent Hill 2 remake, all the remakes of Resident Evil 7 and 8, Last of Us, Avowed, Witchfire, Dead Space remake, Doom 2016, Doom Eternal, all the Assassin's Creed games, all the Far Cry games, Atomic Heart, Cyberpunk, God of War Ragnarok, Star Wars Outlaws. I don't know if I'd put that one in there. Final Fantasy 7 remake, Ghost of Tsushima, and more. It's like those all bombed hardcore, right? It's like, yeah,
Yeah,
that's a
dude.
good point. It's like, dude, single player games are here to stay. Come on.
They all bomb,
This
bro.
argument
So bad.
isn't real.
Horrible.
Oh, dude,
Why even
it's just
bother?
single player people or multiplayer people are like there's so many people that I know that play one game their entire lives,
Yeah.
or like sometimes like I got buddies who literally only play FIFA.
I
Only
mean,
play Madden.
yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. It's like
What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, it just brought to mind this meme I saw online where it's like, where it showed like some derpy image of like a character or something. It was like Patrick or something looking stupid. It was like, it was like, if the game doesn't have a gun or a ball in it, yeah, who is this
Oh,
person kind of
yeah.
thing? Like, this is a lot of people a lot of gamers are like that. If it doesn't have a gun or a ball, it's like, don't even bother.
Oh yeah, 100%. People don't understand. It's just like video games have a whole other world to it, man.
Yeah.
You're missing out.
Straight up.
It's funny to me. I've been getting, dude, the memes that have been coming after me. I'm like early adopter to new games all the time. I'm always like the stuff that we do, I do all like I've done this forever. I've always trying to look at like what's coming out next that looks interesting. And I'll be on the bandwagon really early on. Nobody will be there. I'll like send it to them. I'm like, you need to play this game. It's amazing. It's super fun. It's like I get it. People have different tastes, and they're like, nah, it's not good. And then all of a sudden they'll come out of the woodwork like weeks later and be like, yo, this game's good. You should check it out. It's like, bro, I was the one that told you about it. And a good example of this is I told people about Marvel Rivals, and they're like, oh, it's just Overwatch 2. It's just like, yeah, I mean, it is, but there's a spinoff. Like if you get different characters and you pair them up, they add like different abilities. It keeps things like it keeps the meta is constantly changing. They're always working on it. It seems they're trying to do balancing. They're also going to release like all these other characters coming out in different universes. And I'm trying to sell the dream, right? You get it. And they're just like, nah, it's just Overwatch. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And I'm over here just playing solo queue. And I find out literally like last week, these morons had gone and started playing together after like roasting me. I'm like, dude, you're gonna roast me, then you're gonna go play, and then you're not gonna hit me with the at.
Dude,
Like,
it's
come
crazy, bro.
on,
It's crazy.
wild. The same thing's happening with Splitgate too, man. Same thing. I've been on my Splitgate grind for a while now, since like the early alpha beta stages of the first game, and now I'm seeing like everybody on social media playing it. I'm like, guys, where were you? Yeah, where were you like 6 years ago, bro? Where were you? Yeah, I'm telling you, the next one, Mecha Break. That's the next one.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna be on that game before anybody else. It's gonna come out. It's gonna pop. But everybody's gonna be stuck on there like, it moves too quick, and then go play COD, and then their mind melts because they played Warzone for the last 15 years straight.
Yeah. Or they just go play Marvel Rivals,
15,
the new Overwatch. Everyone's playing that game.
Yeah. Jeez, dude.
That's crazy. As for 2025, the year so far has been marked by 2 games that have seen healthy sales numbers so far. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 has reached 2 million copies sold as of February 13th, while Capcom's Monster Hunter Wilds... So this is crazy to me, and I'll explain after I read this. Capcom's Monster Hunter Wilds has sold 8 million copies in 3 days. This is the problem, though. This is what I saw whenever I was watching reviews, and I eventually saw Digital Foundry's like tech breakdown of kind of like performance of the game. And it's like, especially if you're playing on like on these big consoles, on like, in like, even on PC on like low settings, like in order for the game to function well, at least on launch, in order for the game to function well, like you really had to like, you wanted good frames, you had to like crank the settings really low, and it made the game look like a PS2 title. Like it was just, it looked horrible.
You ain't wrong.
And
yeah,
like, the texture melding and everything, it just looked terrible. It's like there's just something about it, like it just wasn't really optimized, and you could just kind of see that from the start. And it's like, when a game, like, you know, when it's not really optimized, doesn't really, like, performance-wise, is, like, okay, but just looks terrible. And it's like, they didn't actually, like, take time to make sure that the game looked good, like on release, or even with good hardware. It's like,
yeah.
and then you see, I mean, look at this. Like Mike, if the game looked like crap and it just like ran well enough where it kind of just passed by, but you're looking at the charts and you're seeing 8 million in sales in 3 days, like people are going to be like, I mean, we don't really have to like worry about making the game like, perform as it should be, because I mean, we sold 8 million copies and barely shipped it out. Like, I don't know, just not a good precedent.
No, I get what you're saying, but I also think that the quality of the game and the graphics aren't as important as the story and the mechanics of the game. That's kind of where I've always
That's
been.
fair. I mean, that's
I mean,
fair.
didn't Hades, isn't that a pixelated mess? And it's a top-down view like scroller in
Yeah,
that one game of the year?
I'm not sure like how it was at launch or anything. I don't know. I mean, I didn't hear anything like that, but I wasn't super close to the game whenever it was out. So I don't know.
I might be confusing it with a different game.
But it's like,
the point I'm trying to make is like there are plenty of games that I could think of that are very arcadey and old school, like 80s level graphics, are just terrible, and they play amazing. So to me, it's more about the aesthetic is really nice, especially in single player games, but sometimes it's just about simplicity,
I mean, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. Like, sold 8 million copies. It's great, but yeah, dude, I don't know. It's interesting in this day and age. It's like there's, I think, a certain level, especially with a game as big of an IP as Monster Hunter is, and what you expect the game to be, kind of thing. Where in the past it's been graphically well done and everything. Certainly, I think was a bit of a letdown for some people. But 8 million copies sold, like, that's smash, bro. Can't say it any other way. So a smash. So yeah, I don't know, dude. Yeah, single player. I mean, if you listen to this podcast for a while, you know my opinions on this. Single players will never be dead, ever. There's always gonna be a market for it. It's always gonna be something I'm gonna be kind of leaning towards the most as a game, as a gamer myself. It's kind of like single players where I lean. So it's always gonna be there. It's always gonna be great. There's a game for everyone. There's a genre for everyone. There's sections for everyone. Don't have to discriminate or people off into different spaces. I think games are games, and find what you like and play it.
Exactly. I think that's the best point of view you should have. There's really not much else to add on, other than I think there's more gamers than what people realize. I think there's a whole lot of gamers that all they do is play single player games, and there's not nearly enough people talking about it. It seems to be the only focus is the multiplayer arena shooters, the Fortnite, Minecraft. It's there are definitely people out there that all they do is play Minecraft completely solo by themselves. They'll listen to a podcast, listen to a audiobook, and then just start building stuff.
I've been there, dude.
I mean, I used to do that.
I've been there.
For when I first started playing video games, that's what I used to do. I used to play Roller Coaster Tycoon. That's a single player game. I would play that for oh, dude, constantly. I would do that. I would play Sonic as well. It was one of the first PC games I could ever play, and I'm over here playing scrollers Sonic from back in the day using my arrow keys and my space bar. It's that was so cool, and I tried so hard to get supersonic. Yeah, it was so much fun, man.
Yeah, it's crazy, dude. Absolutely crazy. Yeah, it's yeah, dude, this Tycoon games and everything, dude. Yeah, I remember playing solo Minecraft, just vibing out, start a world, just kind of building something, spending hours doing that. It was always fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, and all those different Minecraft spin-offs too. When I was younger, I'd play those. Yeah, nowadays it's nowadays the main games are when you're a kid, it's I am hop on Roblox and play Super Saiyan Simulator. It's just that's kind of what it is now. It's
right.
Which, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I just think it's a different time. I don't know how many people are. I don't know how many especially young kids are firing up single player stuff. I feel like most of it's just hopping on Roblox or hopping on Fortnite. I don't know. It's kind of those are the two main genres now. I don't know. So, yeah, it's different times, but yeah, I remember all the different games that you could just hop into and play and get lost in. All that. I mean, for me, Splinter Cell. Spent a lot of time playing Splinter Cell when I was younger.
Same,
especially
dude.
that first game, dude. Played it multiple times.
I miss it so much.
I would play the game, And I don't necessarily recommend this for people. When I was really young, I would play like the first Splinter Cell, and I would like look up a tutorial on how to like play it the most efficiently, and I would just like learn how to play it the most efficiently. But I never really learned. I just copied what the videos would do. It's kind of like I was never really playing for myself. It was kind of just like, just bored, and so I was trying to figure out like what's the best way to beat this level. So
what was your most played single player game? Like time spent on the game
of all time?
Of all time.
Dang, I don't.
In like a campaign / open world setting, and MOBAs do not count. Completely single player.
Yeah, completely single player. It's honestly hard to think about. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I said, the Splinter Cell games are up there. I mean, even when I was really young, like the Tony Hawk games, like American Wasteland. I don't know how many hours I logged on that game, but dude, I played it multiple times. And
Underground 2 for me, I played insane amount. But the thing with those is like once you beat the story, you just kind of were done. Like your character was finished.
Yeah, there wasn't a post story, right? There wasn't a new game plus, right? You just kind of just skating around.
No. I think it would have to be like an open world game. I know mine would be Legend of Zelda Wind Waker.
Wind Waker,
like having to find the different shards that were to rebuild the Triforce, and you had to like spend a buttload of time sailing around the entire world. I remember I had a map on the wall, like taped to the wall, to make sure I can like get all the shards and hunt for things, and it was crazy.
Yeah.
Also, Assassin's Creed Black Flag, I spent a buttload of time to beat that to 100%.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Same here. Yeah, the Assassin's Creed games. I'd have to honestly look at my GameCube collection to kind of see, because I know there's a lot of those games I spent a lot of time on.
I bet you for you, if you actually went and got sucked into Witcher 3, it'd be that.
Yeah,
you would be.
Well, I mean, I
wouldn't see it for years.
I mean, yeah, like I've already beat the main story of that, and so I think it's like the main story's there. There's a lot more content I could play and could do.
Oh gosh,
yeah, I did set that game down like a month ago though. It's kind of like I milked it for a solid like 3 weeks, and then I was like, all right, let's move on to some other stuff, play some other games.
That's fair.
But the DLC I still need to go back and do. But yeah, no, I mean, like recently, definitely The Witcher. I spent a lot of time on truly single player, solid game. It's I mentioned this earlier in the year, but I think kind of as time goes on, I still have Red Dead 2 on my hard drive. I need to fire up and play. And that's like kind of the next game I'll probably get sucked into. But yeah, dude, like at some point I mentioned earlier in the year, like I'd love to go through kind of the must plays. Like what are the must play games that majority of the internet and people think is like, you can't skip and games you should play, even if it's not necessarily your kind of thing or it's not necessarily the genre you gravitate towards. That's what I want to try and do more of in between these big releases and kind of waiting for new games to come out. Try to spend some time on older stuff.
I think when it comes to must plays, you just got to go down the list of game of the years. You really do.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
Yeah, I think that's the only way.
It's not a bad idea. Yeah, I mean, I was looking at I was going off like Metacritic. I think recently, just looking at Metacritic. It's like I trust Metacritic, right? It's multiple sources, multiple reviews, kind of dictating what games are good.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I'll probably go down that list. That was what I was thinking. That's what like sparked me the inspiration for like finally getting around to Witcher 3. I think eventually getting to Red Dead 2 and playing that. Because they're all must plays, dude. Everyone's like, you gotta play these games. And as I see newer titles come out, and I hear about like there's a lot of influence. Like even like with KCD 2, I haven't played it, but like from the reviews and stuff I've seen, like even the devs have talked about like there's some aspects where they got a lot of inspiration from Red Dead 2 for some of their game mechanics and aspects and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, if a game like that, which is a medieval bohemian RPG, is getting inspiration from a 1800s Western, there's probably something good about that game.
That's a good point.
It's like completely
something's going on that we need to figure out.
Yeah, it's like there's definitely a lot of things done right. So it just makes you want to go back and play those games. So it's on my list for show. See, like, yeah, and before we move on, I don't know. I keep talking about KCD2, and I keep seeing the reviews like, oh, you may not like this game. It's not your kind of style. But I don't know, man. All these reviewers I trust and reviewers I like watch, and they're all like saying they easily spent 100+ hours, and I'm just like, I spent like 50 to 60 on Witcher, and I felt like I was playing that nonstop, like not having a life territory. And so I'm like, if I feel like I play KCD2, I'm gonna be sucked in for at least like 2 months. And so I'm kind of scared. I'm like, but I don't know. Crazy stuff.
That's very true.
Crazy stuff.
Alrighty, sir. Shall we jump onto this week's final article? It's another one from a gaming studio lead director and probably some new news that's going on. It's Andy Chalk over here at PC Gamer. Andy, we've covered multiple times. He writes some pretty good articles. You should definitely follow him, check him out. So the title of the article is former Treyarch studio co-head and Black Ops 3 director is heading up a new first-party PlayStation studio. It's kind of interesting. So Jason Blundell's new operation is called Outlaw Games. And I hope this graphic has something to do with it because it looks zombified.
It's Black Ops Zombies.
I know it is. I just realized I was like, silly me. It's Black Ops 3 zombies.
Zombies.
Honestly, isn't that well regarded within the COD community as one of the better zombie games and just better overall COD games? Was Black Ops 3? Or am I thinking of Black Ops 2?
Black Ops 2 is probably what you're thinking of. At least from from a gameplay standpoint, Black Ops 2 was like peak for a lot of people in the COD series. Okay. Black Ops 2 Zombies wasn't bad. I knew it was one of the
Black Ops.
Yeah, Black Ops 2 Zombies wasn't bad. It was okay. Black Ops 1 Zombies was like, that shit was mint. It was mint. but Black Ops 3 wasn't a bad game, and I think honestly like Black Ops 4 Zombies actually wasn't bad too when I played that. So it's kind of
not bad, yeah. Okay, well, let's just jump into it real quick. So 5 years after leaving Treyarch, former studio co-chief and Call of Duty producer Jason Blundell is heading up a new first-party PlayStation studio called Dark Outlaw Games. And here it is from Blundell in an interview with Jeff Gerstmann. So he says, Dark Outlaw Games have been working away in the shadows for a while, and when we got something to talk about, we'll step out into the light. Interesting. So, but the story for him about the game is not about the studio. So the reason why we are not doing a fanfare or shouting about it from the rooftops is let's get something right. So doesn't seem like they actually gotten far with this yet. But he goes on to continue. It's such a privilege to be able to do it with Sony as a new first-party studio. Sony doesn't set up first-party studios all the time. To have that privilege is humbling. It's really nice. It's really exciting. Blundell said Dark Outlaw has been staffing up and keeping it kind of low-key to the point, but he declined to say anything specific about the studio's current status, much less what it's working on. So Blundell went on to continue saying, we're getting a team to gel, getting the ideas clicking, and he's a programmer at heart, so he wants to test those assumptions. Is it working? And you're trying to hit that escape velocity. So it seems to me that my man is just trying to kick a studio off. I wonder why they are taking so long, because it has been quite a long time, hasn't it? Really?
I mean, yeah, it's makes you wonder what they're working on.
He left Treyarch 5 years ago.
Yeah, so after 13 years. So
maybe he had a nice vacation, and then he brought people in. He's like, let's figure this out.
Nice little sabbatical.
Let's see if I would like to know the founding day before. Let's see.
Founding day was real quick. Black Ops Day, whatever that is.
Dark Outlaw Games founding date. It does not say, unfortunately. Not readily available, at least.
They were founded on May 35th, 2020.
35th? You got him. So somebody made a post Monday. That can't be right.
Monday.
Okay, so the foundation of studio happened this week. I was trying to figure out whether or not the studio that Blundell has been working on had actually happened prior to that. So apparently not. Let's go back to the article. A couple more paragraphs here. So Blundell has a long list of credits to his name, beginning, just as he said, as a programmer on Star Lancer in 2000. But he's best known for a long run on Call of Duty at Treyarch. He served as producer of Call of Duty 3 and Black Ops. Directed 2 zombie maps for Black Ops 2 and directed both the campaign and zombie modes for Black Ops 3. He left Treyarch in 2020 after 13 years at the studio, saying his time at the studio has been nothing short of awesome. this isn't Blundell's first comeback. In 2021, he launched a new studio alongside fellow Call of Duty veteran Dave Anthony. Is it Anthony or Antony? Whatever. In 2021, called Deviation Games. Interesting, that studio first project was being developed in the partnership with Sony, but Blundell left Deviation just over a year later in September 2022, and the studio closed in 2024 without releasing a game. Apparently, that unhappy outcome hasn't diminished his enthusiasm. He says he's very excited. It's very exciting, he said in an interview, and he loves the fact that still at this point in his career, he's I'm given these opportunities. It's always that desire to, again, you want to put that one extra disc on the wall, if you will, and can we bring something to an audience and excite them and get some new IPs? That makes me jump out of bed every morning. So interesting. So he started Deviation Games, which we talked about, and they kind of crumbled and fell apart. But I think that had more to do with the lockdown pandemic and layoffs that's been happening the last couple of years, because it shut before releasing a game in 2024, and they were working on a partnership with Sony, but it fell through. So that tells me he probably kept the partnership with Sony enough to create a new studio. And my imagination would lead me to believe, what a part of Deviation Games could he be taking with him to his new studio?
It's a very good question. Makes me wonder.
Yeah.
But there's a storyline. There was the gap in releases. I was gonna say gap in employment, but he was technically employed, so it's not like but it's like on a resume. It's like I worked at the studio, not game of it, but I worked here.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we talked about Deviation Games a couple of times, especially during the layoffs. I know we mentioned, what was it? I mean, it was the major article that we covered literally like a handful of years ago, saying that they were going to announce that. Well, first they announced that Blundell left, and then a couple of years later they announced again. They were like, "Okay, well, we're done, GG's." So, yeah, I don't know how what's gonna happen. To say, like, hopefully something new comes out of that, because I know PlayStation could use an original studio. Not saying they don't already have some, but just to see another one under the umbrella, not somebody that's already developed an IP, developed a game, and it went and bought out.
Yeah,
I want to see them start from scratch with the new studio.
Yeah, I mean, it is weird. I feel like Sony's typically the type to buy out. I think especially these days.
Yeah,
they're not really one to be like, all right, we're gonna start a new studio. So I think it's certainly interesting in that regard. Obviously, they're investing in Blundell's history. Kind of his to say his tenure, but like his veteran kind of presence. Certainly what they're gambling on.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'll be interested to see. I mean, this is someone who clearly knows, how to develop and make games. So I think, I think I think his idea too, where he was talking at the end, he's like, main reason I do this is try to get some good games out there, get another disc on the wall kind of thing. Which is all good. I mean, I feel like it's probably, if that's, you're developing games, that's not one of your main objectives, probably not in it for the right reasons. So, totally with him there. I'll be interested to see kind of what comes of this too. I like Dark Outlaw. I think it's a sick name, Dark Outlaw Games. So yeah, man, I'm certainly curious. I think for me, when I see the partnership with Sony, my expectations get a little high. I think especially if it depends on, I think, the kind of game they're making. But like when you're with Sony, it's like
single player game.
If it's a single player game, like you got Naughty Dog, you got Binge, you got like all these like studios who've made solid single player games. So you got Bungie in that umbrella. I know it's like originally not Sony, but I mean, like still, it's like you got all these kind of studios who are these proven track records. So you get the Ghost of Tsushima studio, which is leaving me Santa Monica. I'm trying to think. Trying to think of some more. I mean, but it's like, dude, it's just
there's a lot of them.
Dude, it's like all these games, like solid single player experiences. So if they're going that route, it's like my expectations for you going to be like you're going to start to like raise
very high.
So
yeah,
it's like you got 100%. A lot to live up to if you want to be kind of in the same tier. I feel like as those studios. Not saying that Blundell can't do it, but I'm just saying like they need to make sure they get it right. Because I don't think Sony's necessarily gonna like immediately shut them down if the first game is kind of like just mid, but I hope they get it right out the gate. That's my hope.
Well, actually, you never know because Concord kind of.
I mean,
Somebody
yeah, I
shut
mean
that
that's
down.
what I'm saying. It depends on the game. Like if it's single player stuff, it's different. I would hope it's not a live service game. I feel like studios are starting to learn their lesson about live service and shutting down a lot of projects.
I think they are too. I think I don't know. It's gonna be hard to say because it seems to be a trend right now of just a whole bunch of like, okay, ex studio head or director of a game that was super famous that had like hundreds of people working on it, left and is now gonna go try to make their own studio. It's like, oh, that's really cool, but where's the game?
Yeah,
Like we haven't really seen much yet.
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
I just want to see more games that are like interesting and compelling and something unique. Is the big thing for me.
yeah, man. I mean, I'm right there with you. I think I don't know. Yeah, we can't really. Obviously, we can't say much until we actually see something. So it's just all
Exactly.
speculation and hope. But I mean, till I see something, it's like, well, I'll keep the expectations, at a minimum until I actually see something. Then it's like, okay, I can start gauging.
Yeah.
I mean, well, I guess I
So-
shouldn't say that. My expectations are high, but we'll see what comes of it.
Yeah, to be fair, it is a very recent and new studio, so they're probably in the early stages of like, okay, we just signed this contract
Yeah.
with Sony. Sony believes in the leadership team. They believe in me. Now I have to go hire people, get like the leadership team in a room together. We got to figure out what type of game do we want to make, and then go out and hire people that would be good to help you make that game.
Yeah.
It's an interesting concept, just game building. So hopefully,
Yeah, it really is.
they can take care of that and get it done.
Yeah, it's wild, man. Just learning more about like the industry as we've done this show and like just kind of all the nuance
It's
and like how much it's evolved and I don't know, it's crazy, man.
I'm so into it.
It's crazy. It's wild. It's wild out here. Some of these studios. So I don't know, dude. I hope for the
Yeah, they
best.
kind of
But
let anything go.
I mean, yeah, there's some where it's like, I just thought about that recently too, of like the clip at like Double Fine where like with Matt Booty was actually at the studio and he was talking about like, if y'all think of an idea here, it's kind of Microsoft's now. Good luck. It's like when stuff like that, it's like it's horrifying. So I don't know. There's it's weird. And I hope a lot of these studios, and I hope Sony is kind of not in the same thought pattern. And not to say that Xbox is in that thought pattern now, because I'm sure that did not look well on Xbox whenever that came out. And it was like, hopefully they rethought some of their strategy, because they're not wrong. It's just morally, I don't agree with it. So I don't know.
Oh yeah, it's a fact. But hey, man, how about we try to keep these little episodes short, like we've been doing? Let the people go. I don't really have anything else to add. I'm liking the 4 article segment that we got going on for now.
It's nice.
You know?
Telling you, like a nice adjustment.
Yeah, nice little adjustment. We had the extra one. It's like an hour and a half. Dang, dude.
Yeah,
It's not that I don't like talking to you. It's just like, oh, sheesh.
It's like you get to the 5th article, you're like, dude, there's 5.
One more to go.
Well, especially weeks like this, where
But
it's like, especially this time of year, it gets harder to find 5 like heavy hitters.
Oh yeah, the 5 bangers. But I feel like keeping it to 4 means we're gonna get the most.
Be more selective.
But yeah, more selective, but more passionate about it. I think is probably the better way for me to say it.
I like it.
Because I was very, very much excited to talk about the SplitFiction one.
Mhm.
I really wanted to hear you explain to me what's going on with Baldur's Gate 3 and that dev. So, like this whole argument of like single player games are dead, we could rant about that forever.
Yeah,
Just start going
Whole
down a
episode,
long
too.
list of like all the best games. Literally, all of the best games are all single player games.
Yeah,
So-
pretty much. Get good multiplayer.
Literally all. Yeah. Yeah, you can't keep up. Sorry.
Yeah, live service. How's that
I mean,
working out for
well,
you?
I
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, there are a few that I'm just like, I mean, World of Warcraft's probably pretty good. Counter Strike, yeah. I mean,
Pretty good,
there are some games where you're like, okay, yeah, but they have story stuff elements to them as well. Anyhow, I'm kind of rambling at this point. Do you have anything to add, Kyle? Do you want to let the people know anything? We good?
Nah, dude.
Got anything going on?
That's all I said for this week.
All right, heck yeah, dude. I gotta go take a quick what's it called? Allergy. Mad. I'm like suffering. I don't know if you are down there.
Dude,
I
I was
can't
dying
breathe. My eyes
a couple
are
days ago. I was
sticky.
dying. It was bad.
Yeah. Glad to see you're not sick anymore.
Oh yeah.
Glad to have you back.
Oh yeah. Trust me, I'm glad to be back, baby.
Heck yeah, dude. Well, without further ado, let's let the people go. If you made it this far, we absolutely appreciate you. If you want to check out, the links are in the description below with timestamps. And that's really all I have like left to add. Social media links as well if you want to check that out. And we just appreciate you guys for tuning in, listening to a little bit, a lot of it, whatever you guys got going on. We just appreciate the time. And without further ado, this is the M2 podcast. Michael Anthony and Kyle Heath. We'll see you in the next one. Adios.